So the NFL trade deadline has came and went, and the Eagles were nearly able to acquire a superstar cornerback, but they just missed out. But despite remaining quiet on the day of the deadline, the Eagles were still able to come out as big winners. But someone who didn't remain quiet was Dak Prescott, as he had some very interesting comments ahead of the Birds matchup with the Cowboys, and it seems like he wants all the smoke. But so do the Eagles and Sean Desai, who recently spoke about the Eagles' defensive struggles, and it sounds like the defensive coordinator has a sense of urgency to get the problems fixed. Plus, Jalen Hurts is ready for the Cowboys as he started to play some of his best football, and he's pushed his way into the MVP conversation, while also proving that he has the clutch gene. All that and more news as the Birds prepare to face the boys, so let's not waste any time and get straight into it. So headed into Tuesday's trade deadline, there were a lot of rumors surrounding the Birds, as there were many reports coming out leading into the day saying that Howie Roseman wasn't done making moves yet, even after the Kevin Byard trade. Diana Rossini said Howie was poking around for another linebacker. Other sources suggested that the Eagles were in search of another pass rusher to round out the defensive line, and then there were also some rumors headed into the day saying that Howie Roseman is a, quote, huge fan of Bears star cornerback Jaylon Johnson, who also had requested a trade from the Bears just the day before the deadline due to contract extension talks not progressing. So safe to say there were a lot of rumors flying around, and it almost seemed like a move was inevitable and maybe a big one. However, when we got to the deadline day, it wasn't the Eagles who were making headlines for a big trade around Philadelphia, as the Sixers had finally been able to trade James Harden to the Clippers in the middle of the night, which then prompted Sixers young star guard Tyrese Maxey to quote Jalen Hurts when he was asked about the blockbuster move, as he said the team just needs to, quote, keep the main thing, with the main thing being, of course, winning. So overall, you just love to see the influence Jalen Hurts has around the city, including on other star athletes. And Jalen very clearly practices what he preaches too, as the star QB is just 5 wins short of tying Carson Wentz's win total when he was in Philly, with 20 less losses than the Eagles' former second overall pick. And Hurts has won 24 of his last 26 regular season starts, so it seems like he could be on trajectory to pass Wentz pretty quickly, so I think it's safe to say that Howie Roseman made the right decision to move on from Wentz and give the keys to Hurts. And after this Harden move being the talk of the town on NFL trade deadline day, people speculated that Howie knew he needed to do something, and the main rumor that heated up throughout the day was the one suggesting Roseman trade for Bears star cornerback Jaylon Johnson, as it was reported by Jordan Schultz that there were 4 main contenders for the move, with the Eagles being one of those teams, and then it seemed to get narrowed down to 2, with ML Football saying the top 2 contenders were the Eagles and Steelers, and revealing that a move would in fact be done at the deadline. It was just a matter of where he was going. Turns out that was a complete lie though, as before the deadline it was reported that Jaylon Johnson wouldn't be going anywhere, and he ended up remaining with the Bears as 4 p.m. came and went. So as for the Eagles, of course they didn't land Johnson, but after all that speculation, they didn't make any other crazy move either. Instead, Howie Roseman decided to remain quiet for once. That being said, it can't be ignored that Philly was still one of the clear winners in terms of making in-season trades, getting guys like Bradley Roby and Julio Jones who have been contributors so far, and then of course being able to make a blockbuster trade for Kevin Byard around a week before the deadline. And as Kendall Beck pointed out, quote, Kevin Byard was the only all-pro player to get traded before the trade deadline. Howie Roseman always gets the last laugh. I mean, if we're counting Byard as a trade deadline move, I still think we can safely say that the Eagles were one of the big winners of the deadline. Although to be fair, Byard didn't have the best performance in his debut game with the Eagles, as we talked about in my last video, but I think that we can really only expect him to get better as time moves on, as after all, he did just get here and it's a big adjustment for him. So Sean Desai spoke about Byard's debut game and what he expects from him moving forward in his Tuesday press conference.
Yeah, he's been such a great leader. He's kind of stepping in and really taking ownership of a lot of things and really putting the time in to work and learn the defense and do all the stuff that you would expect a pro to do, and he's been the consummate pro, and so he's been tremendous. And he had a good game, he's solid, and I got to do a better job putting him in some different spots and helping him, and he'll continue to get better, and that's the great part about this.
So as Desai said there, he only expects Byard to get better as he continues to learn the defense and get more comfortable, and I also like how he took accountability in saying that he needs to do a better job at putting Byard in some different spots to be successful, and in addition to that, Desai also took accountability in the part that he played in the Eagles defense struggling against Washington's quick passing game, as well as their last touchdown drive on Sunday.
And there was a lot of factors in it, and it starts with me. I got to prepare our guys better and put our guys in better positions to make some plays on those things. And then when I do that and keep shifting the calls and moving them around, putting our guys in good spots so they can challenge those at the point of attack.
It's showing that quick score by Washington late was kind of the learning point.
Oh my God, that one. Gosh, man, that's 2 times they got me on that one. It's poor by me. I got to do a better job putting our guys in position to execute in those situations, and we will do a better job. putting those guys in position to execute those situations. We can't do that. That's not the type of brand of football that we want to be known about. That's not the type of product that we want to be putting out there.
I'm just really glad to hear Desai taking responsibility here. I mean, he just knows that he has to do his job better, and he's holding himself accountable, which is exactly the mindset you need to have to grow and get better. So combine that with the tremendous success Desai has already had this year leading the defense, and I'm confident he'll correct his mistakes and the Birds defense will be just fine. Although I must admit, the performance of one particular vet on the Eagles defense has been a little bit concerning, as after earning an All-Pro nod last year, cornerback James Bradberry has not been nearly on that level this season, and in the Washington game in particular, he really struggled, allowing 4 catches on 7 targets for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, there's no denying that JB just has to be better, especially now that it's confirmed there will be no help coming in the form of a Jaylon Johnson or another star cornerback. I mean, I personally have a hard time believing that James Bradberry all of a sudden can't play anymore, and I think he's still very capable of turning it around, but what do you guys think? Can Bradberry bounce back and have a good second half to the season? Now, with the struggles of Bradberry and the defense in this game against the Commanders, it's a good thing that the offense showed up, with offensive coordinator Brian Johnson continuing to get better despite some criticism from the fans, leading the offense to another fantastic performance in which they put up 38 points, and Johnson does deserve a good amount of credit for that, and it could have been even better, with @PhillyTruther on Twitter saying, quote, "After rewatching the film, you'll notice Brian Johnson was incredible this week. If not for 2 red zone fumbles, Eagles very well could have had over 50 points. Game ball touches aside, offense is trending up." I mean, although I'm not fully bought into Johnson, he does deserve some credit. I mean, the Eagles have the 3rd best offense in the league in terms of yards and points, and they're a very good passing and rushing team, although that area has been slightly lacking recently, but still, I think it'd be unfair to not give Coach Johnson any credit for this, and even though he definitely has not been perfect and he still needs to fix some things, he's had a pretty solid start as an offensive coordinator in this league. However, the players also obviously deserve a tremendous amount of credit, with one of them, of course, being Jalen Hurts, who has been getting better as the season has gone on for the most part, and at this point, he seems to have played his way into the MVP conversation. So don't worry, we're going to get to that and a lot more in just a minute here, but real fast, I have to say, if you are enjoying this video or finding it informative in any way, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Around 80% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed. If you're one of those people, you're enjoying this video and you're finding it useful, make sure you go fix that right now, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any other videos just like this coming in the future. I think that's a win-win for the both of us. Now with that being said, let's get back into the video. So as I said, Jalen Hurts has played his way into the MVP conversation over the past few weeks, as he now has the 2nd best odds to win the award just behind Patrick Mahomes. And I mean, you can't say it's not warranted. He's led the Birds to the best record in the league at 7-1, and he's on pace for 5,142 total yards and 39 total touchdowns. Now, his one problem this year has been turnovers, which is something you definitely can't ignore, and if he continues to turn it over at the rate he's been doing it at, then I don't think he'd have a real case to win the award. However, as the offense continues to improve and chemistry grows, I think you'll see those numbers go down. And at least we know that Jalen Hurts shows up when the Eagles need him the most, aside from that Jets game, as the numbers show that Jalen Hurts turns into a different breed when the Birds are tied or trailing, and he's also won 6 straight games when the Eagles trail by double digits, and that's the longest streak by a quarterback since the stats started being tracked, and no other quarterback even has 5 wins like that in a row. I mean, you can't say this man is not clutch, and he definitely showed up in a big way on Sunday with his best game of the year, putting up over 300 passing yards and 4 touchdowns in the Eagles' win over the Commanders. And that performance ended up earning him the NFC Offensive Player of the Week award, very well deserved, and a huge congratulations to Jalen for winning that. But funny enough, Jalen and the Eagles' performance and win over the Commanders on Sunday may have sent them into somewhat of a rebuild or at least a retool, as they traded a couple of their good young pass rushers, first sending Montez Sweat to the Bears in exchange for a 2nd-round pick, and then Chase Young to the 49ers for a 3rd-round pick. Now, I'm not sweating Young going to the 49ers because I trust the guys we got up front, and it seems like the move hasn't changed Vegas' opinion much either on who's the better team right now between the Eagles and Niners, as most sportsbooks have the Eagles up towards the top at either 1st or 2nd, along with the Chiefs as the favorites to win the Super Bowl over the 49ers. And with the reputation that this team has naturally with any team that's preparing to face the Eagles, it's going to mean a little extra because they know this is a big game and it's going to be a tough test, and I don't think that's more true for any team than the Dallas Cowboys, the #1 rival of the Philadelphia Eagles. And as the teams prepare to face off this week and ahead of this matchup, it seems like Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott isn't ducking any smoke, as back on Sunday, Dallas owner Jerry Jones said he didn't want to comment on the upcoming rivalry game because he didn't want to, quote, poke the bear, but upon hearing that, Dak responded saying, quote, pour honey on me. I always say that. If you ever see me and a bear in a fight, pour honey on me. He can poke the bear. I'm looking forward to it. Now, first of all, that's kind of an interesting thing to say, but trust me, Dak, that's all Philly needed. I mean, you don't got to tell anyone to get fired up for this matchup. It's Dallas week, and the players know how much this game means, and you better believe that this Eagles defensive line and pass rush heard those comments from Dak. I mean, Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, and those dudes are going to come out ready to play, and if Jalen Carter can go, he's going to be looking to make good on his promise to kill the Cowboys that he made back in July. So Dak Prescott better watch out is all I'm going to say, because you know these guys are going to be ready. And now the offense has an extra added motivation for this game too, as the talking heads in the media are doing what they can to hype up the Cowboys and throw shade on the Eagles as per usual, and quite unexpectedly, former Cowboys Hall of Fame receiver Michael Irvin did just that, saying, quote, "All they got is 2 plays, a throw to AJ Brown and the tush push. This game is all about the 11s. If our 11, MP11, aka Micah Parsons, can't get to Jalen Hurts without Trayvon Diggs, their 11, AJ Brown, gonna make us pay. We just gotta deal with him." Now, first off, that's kind of a ridiculous take. I mean, the Eagles got plenty of ways that they can beat you offensively. It's not just AJ Brown, although I do have a hard time believing that the Cowboys can do anything to stop him. But hey, this is just more outside noise at the end of the day. And on top of that, the fan rivalry only adds to the hype of this week. I mean, these teams certainly hate each other, but so do the fans, and Jason Kelce really broke it down perfectly back in October of 2022, ahead of their Dallas matchup back then, when he said, quote, "Two polar opposites. Philly's an extremely localized, diehard fan base that's authentic to all of them growing up together in this community. Most of the Cowboys fan base is built on commercialism and pop culture, Laker, Yankee type fans." Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty fair assessment, and yes, of course I'm biased, and there are no doubt loyal, diehard Cowboys fans from the area. I'm not saying that there aren't. There's a large portion of the fan base that is like that, but there's also a large portion of the Cowboys fan base that you can't really deny is exactly the way Jason described them, and that combined with the fact that all they do is bring up stuff from 30 years ago in the 90s before I was even born just makes the hate and rivalry between these fan bases even stronger. And that's what makes Eagles vs. Cowboys so much fun, and there's going to be plenty more stuff coming out this week ahead of the game, so if you don't want to miss any coverage regarding that, make sure you again go down, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Also drop a like on this video if you did enjoy it and want to show some support, and leave a comment down below just regarding anything that I talked about in this video. And if you want to watch another Eagles video recapping the Eagles win over the Commanders and other news, you can go watch this right here. Now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this video, guys, so thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.